Hello. I just wanted to make a unscripted video about the 4 uses of a certain button described in the binds as the Target Acquisition Button Depress. But basically, it's just the TDC button on the stick, but if you press it. So, as far as I've been able to figure out, this button has 4 different uses. And we've already talked about one of the uses on this channel before. Basically, in air-to-ground mode, it will manually shut the laser on and off. And the reasons you might want to do this are because in air-to-ground mode or in gun mode, the laser can only be on for 3.5 minutes. And when the laser turns on in air-to-ground mode, it stays on for 30 seconds. So turning it off early might save you a lot of laser lifetime. Additionally, once that laser shuts off, it has to stay off for 32 seconds. So being able to shut it off early might help you be able to do a repeat attack sooner. The other advantage is that the laser is triggered on in air-to-ground mode when your nose is more than 10 degrees below the horizon. So if you need to do a really shallow attack, less than 10 degrees dive, you'll have to use that button to turn the laser on. So, of course, just to demonstrate, here we go. Turn on laser on, there we go. And then I can fire it once I'm within range, or else the pipper won't work right. And then I can use the button again to turn it off early, to save my laser lifetime, and to be able to re-attack within 32 seconds. Alright, and now the second use of this button, and probably the most anticipated, is going to be KMOD, or Kinematic Determination of Range. So basically, if you have lock with radar or IRST, and you don't have an accurate or any ranging going on, such as being jammed, or your laser or your radar not being able to range in IRST mode, you can use this button to turn on the KMOD mode so that you can range by turning left and right and it doing some math. So, a little background. The only way to really see a jammer is to be in the correct radar mode for their aspect and speed. And then, once your radar sees the jammer, you will see the AP symbol on your HUD, but you won't see anything actual targets. When you see that AP symbol, turn up that AP switch to AP, and then there we go. We see the jamming strobes. You can even turn on the track wall flyby switch so that it automatically gates it. And then we lock. And then it'll estimate range at first, but then it'll be inaccurate. KD is flashing on the HUD. That means KMOD is already turned on. And we can use the button to turn it off and back on. There we go. We have a solid K after turning left and right, which means in a couple seconds it will estimate more accurate range. There we go, 60 kilometers. And I'm going to bet you that the actual range is a little bit less than 60 kilometers. Yep. And the way you want to turn is with about 60 degrees bank until that radar diamond reaches the end of the wingtips of your artificial horizon. So let me go ahead and engage it one more time, but we might reach burn through before it's fully triggered, but let's go ahead and try. In order to reactivate the KD mode, you can't be level. You have to already be banked for the turn. So bank 360 degrees, press my control button to turn it off, press control button again to turn it back on, and then turn. There we go, and it's back on. Only takes about 8 seconds. And already burned through, so it didn't really matter. So, one of the things that's weird about jamming, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be this way, or if it's not completely finished yet, but you won't be able to lock on to the jamming strobe until you're actually within the detection range for that aircraft you're targeting. And I apologize, I said control button earlier. I didn't really explain it, but basically instead of saying target acquisition depress button, most manuals call this button the control button. So from here on out, I'm just going to go ahead and refer to it as control button, so I don't have to say a big giant mouthful. And like I mentioned earlier, once you lock onto the jammer beyond burn through range, KMOD will automatically turn on, as you'll see by the flashing KD symbol. And then once it's solid, it's calculating range. And then to do it again, you have to turn off with the control button and then turn it back on with the control button. Okay. Alright, and here I will show that you can use KMOD with the IRST. If you don't want to use radar ranging in co-op mode, where you're too far away for the laser. Come on, there we go. Okay, so to turn it on, we gotta press our, well, we gotta be banked 30 to 60 degrees, press that button, and after a hot start, it might take a minute. There we go, flashing KD. And I would put the target a little bit above your nose, because if you turn too hard, they might go below your nose, and you'll lose lock, because IRST can only look 15 degrees down. So turn left and right gently until that KD is solid. There we go. And it estimates range at right below 15 kilometers. Just pretty much perfect. However, it will estimate closure, but very badly. Now, one thing we can do here, you see that I have R27Ts loaded. The track wall flyby switch, of course, a lot of people, including me, got confused at first. Why does it say front hemisphere on the top and rear hemisphere on the bottom? This is basically for if you lock someone in IRST mode and it doesn't know their hemisphere, you can basically tell the computer their hemisphere or your aspect with this switch. So if I move it up and down, it will change the estimated range of my missile. In the front hemisphere, you can see it gives me about a 17.5 kilometers range. And if I move it to rear hemisphere, which I'm actually in right now, I get about 6 kilometer range. But of course, this is only with estimated closure, which you can see that arrow slightly unwind as it estimates closure. And then of course, if I bank and press the control button, I can turn KMOD off and then turn it back on, and then try to get a new range. Just like radar mode, instead of the radar diamond moving to the wingtips as you turn, you want to turn until the circle is at the wingtips. There we go, solid KD, range is right at 7 kilometers, right outside laser range. As you can see, it's very accurate at first, and then up you can see my range jump down there as the laser actually triggered. Here is the third use. God damn it. Here's the third use I figured out. Basically, if you turn on track while flyby or track while scan, your target is automatically gated, and you cannot move that TDC. So if you want to unlock the TDC, you can either turn TWS or TWF back off, or you can press your control button, which will do the exact same thing. Basically, it turns it off even if the switch is on. And no matter how many times you press the control button, it won't turn the track while flyby mode back on. So the only way to restart the track while flyby mode is to turn the switch off and then back on. There you go. And now for the fourth and last use of the control button I figured out. It's basically an alternate gun mode. So just get locked with radar or IRST. Let's turn on our first detent. Come on, man. Oh, you flared at me, that's why. There we go. And then, in the normal gun mode, of course, you'll see a circle around the target, and then your crosshairs with a circle around it that shows the range. However, the weakness to this mode is that it can only show about 6 degrees of lead. So you'll see that when the target moves more than 6 degrees from the center of my HUD, the circle will no longer touch them. There we go. Same if I were to, try and pull a lot of lead, so I can't aim accurately beyond 6 degrees of lead. However, if I press our control button, we get new symbology here. Instead of a crosshairs with a circle around it showing range, we have a bar on the fin here. If the bar is at the top of the fin, you're at 800 meters range. And at the bottom, it's at 200 meters. Now, the circle here and the dot are basically where to put your nose to get perfect lead. And the reason we have two symbols here is that the circle is supposed to be like a rough lead point, and the dot is supposed to be a more precise lead point. What's really going on, actually, is that the circle and the dot are on two different scales, and if you were to move your crosshairs to be in the middle of the circle, the dot will move inside the circle as well. So basically, all you need to do is move your crosshairs inside that circle, and the dot will also line up, and then you'll have lead. Like I mentioned, the regular gun mode has that weakness where if I try to pull more than 6 degrees of lead, the circle's no longer on target, and I can't accurately fire. In this mode, it will work up to 12 degrees of lead, twice as much. So if you're in a really fast rate fight and you need to pull a lot of lead, that is where this mode is going to have its primary advantage over the regular gun mode. So let's try and get this to work. I'm a little bit close here. And just like the regular gun mode, when you're on target, you'll get tone. A little bit hard to hear, but it is there. There we go, almost perfect. Almost seems more accurate than the regular gun mode to me. A little bit close, yeah. God damn it. And now I am out of range. There we go. A few hits. There we go. There we go. So that is the 4 uses of this control button: to turn the laser on and off in air to ground mode, to disable or enable the KMOD ranging method in radar or IRST mode when we don't have range, to turn off the track wall flyby or track wall scan mode, and to enable this alternate gun mode where we can pull twice as much lead as the regular gun mode. And there we go. That is pretty much it. If anyone else has figured out other uses for this control button or target acquisition button depress, as it is in the binds, please let me know.